Greetings, fellow travelers. It is I, Ken, coming at you from my kitchen. So, before we get started, a quick update. What have I been up to lately? Went back to work. Excellent. My class is still great. Semester 2 started. All my boxes, with the exception of a couple that I have been waiting for since like December, have arrived all in the same day. So super awesome that I have a sled. You can go check back for if you don't know that I had a sled or have a sled. It's awesome. I love my sled. It's unseasonably warm. The other day it was minus 16 here. With no wind chill. Today, I think it's like minus 25 or something. Again, no wind chill. From what I've been hearing from locals, it's like never like this. So I'm kind of waiting. It's like, I don't know, I'm waiting for something bad to happen. Like, warning! Minus 70 trillion! So we'll see. If that happens, I will let you know because I will go make a video outside. So, anyways, on with the show. So, today, I don't know if you know, is BellLet'sTalk Day, all about mental health awareness. So, I thought that I would interview someone who has ongoing mental health issues. So, and without further ado, I would like to introduce you to my very esteemed guest, Ken. Ken, welcome to the show. Thanks, Ken. I am very happy to be here. All right, so glad you're here. So I just have some questions for you. Feel free to answer however you would like. So I heard that you listen to a podcast called The Hilarious World of Depression. I've listened to a couple episodes myself. It's actually really interesting. And the host of that podcast always starts out by asking, is depression funny? So, I'm going to ask you that question. Is depression funny? Is depression funny? That is a great question. I would say depression is totally hilarious. It's like being in a magical candy shop where you can get like whatever you wanted, but every time you go to choose something, the store manager comes and says, are you sure you want that one? So in the end, you just decide to curl up under a blanket in a dark room to rethink your life choices. For me, personally, depression is like a side effect of anxiety. I would say that I'm mostly anxious, and as a result, I'm like depressed. You know the old saying, whatever can happen will happen, but I think for me, the saying should be, whatever can happen is absolutely gonna happen, and probably worse than you think it will be, so you better be like overly cautious and prepared for every life circumstance, no matter how totally ridiculous, and why hasn't it happened yet? It should be happening by now. What's going on? What's wrong with me? That should be the saying. To borrow from the show Big Mouth, anxiety is totally that mosquito that just buzzes around your ear, telling you that you're like the worst. So, yes, it's completely illogical, and when you kind of take a step back and look at it, it's totally hilarious, but that doesn't make it any less real. All right, so another question. How long have you been depressed? I would say this time around, it's been about 2 years-ish. But if I really think about it, I think I've been depressed or been dealing with depression most of my life. But this time around, I recognize it, and I can name what it is that I'm feeling. It's not just some kind of like nebulous thing out there. I can be like, ha! There you are. I know it. Knew it was you. Are you depressed right now? Am I depressed right now? Kind of back to my other answer, yes. Do I have like symptoms now? No. Those come and go, right? It's like waves on a shore, right? Sometimes I feel extra anxious and extra like low and depressed. Other times I feel great. I think it's a misconception that you will totally act or look like you're depressed all the time, you know, like the sweatpants and like the bags under your eyes, like, you know, that's not all the time. Sometimes it's totally like that. And for a lot of people, it is totally like that all the time. For me, it comes and goes. Usually at like the worst times. It'll just all of a sudden, I'll just be like brushing my teeth, and then the mosquito will be like, wow, look at how fat you are. You're like the worst person ever. You should just like go to bed and never wake up, right? So it comes and goes all the time, right? And now that I know to recognize it, I can be like, buzz off. It's easier at times to say like buzz off, but yeah. Yeah, like I said, there are days where it's like incredibly hard to get out of bed. And just like the act of getting up makes me like so tired that I want to go back to bed. But there are other days where I feel totally great. Is depression the same as just being like sad all the time? No, I think I would describe it in a couple ways. There's two ways. I'm sure you have heard of like the black dog of depression. Yeah, we can post a link for that in the description after? Yeah, let's do that. Let's post a link down below. Yeah, so the black dog of depression I think is a very apt metaphor. But I think for me, I would describe it as like being just like gray. Like if I could describe it as a color, it would be gray. It's kind of like a non-color, right? There's a great song by a band called Highly Suspect called Little One. And one of the lyrics goes, it's raining, it's sunny, it doesn't make a difference. I don't care about anything at all. Yeah, on the really bad days, everything is just like gray, you know? I could be in the most beautiful spot in the world and be like, meh, whatever, right? It could be sunny, meh. It could be raining, I knew it. It would rain today, I guess, you know? Being up here, be like, it would be minus 70 today. But yeah, it's just like a gray kind of like bleh for me. Have things ever gotten like so bad that you wanted to like harm yourself or commit suicide or anything like that? Have things gotten bad? Yeah, there have definitely been times where I thought it would be easier just to end everything than to keep on going. That's just because like being in like a deep state of depression, just everything is hard, right? Like your body hurts and you're just exhausted and you just feel like garbage and you have this thing in your ear saying that you're garbage and yeah, like there's definitely times where it's been like, well, at least if I was like not alive, I wouldn't have all these like really bad negative things weighing down on me. But that's as far as it got. Like I've never like harmed myself. I've never gotten to the point where it's just like, yes, this is what I'm going to do. I think like when things are like that, it's like my brain gets hijacked. Okay, so like during those times, it wasn't me that was thinking, it was the depression that was thinking, and aided by like the mosquito in your ear. You know, kind of, it's like a self-fulfilling thing. It's like, oh, I feel like garbage. You look like garbage, right? Oh, I do look like garbage. You know, it's that those circular thoughts, right? And it's really hard to get out of that spiral at times. So how do you cope? So how do I cope? Well, I went to therapy for a year and that helped a bit. I've done some things to simplify my life and remove stress. I'm super thankful I'm here teaching in the north because it's way less stress than teaching down south, especially currently with COVID and everything. I've also been taking medication for a year and a bit, and that works like good for me. The pill just kind of like levels things out, right? It makes like those crazy in your ears like a little bit quieter and makes your actual thoughts a little bit louder, right? It makes it easier to concentrate. It makes it easier to sleep. Both of those things were missing when I was not on the medication. I would say that it actually makes me feel like myself most of the time. I've started exercising and practicing mindfulness. I think out of all the things I've done, mindfulness has worked the best. Just being able to like breathe and like live in the present moment. A good case is when I'm walking across the lake to work, I make it a point to like listen to what the snow feels like under my boots and feel what the snow feels like, right? And concentrate on what the air feels like on my skin, right? So it's being very like in the now. So, and when you're living in the present, it's really harder to see. It's really hard to see that, black dog following you around. And what advice would you give to someone who doesn't have depression? I would say the biggest piece of advice is don't be weird about it. Right? You wouldn't be weird about someone who has a cold, be like, oh, that sucks. Well, I don't know, you might. It's probably a good thing to be like, man, it sucks that you have a cold, but that's as far as it goes, right? You don't try to like cheer someone up when they have a cold, and I think a lot of people, when they learn that, somebody has depression, they're like, oh, no, I gotta like cheer them up or like do something for them, right? But no, that's totally not necessary. Like you're more than welcome to like cheer me up. Like everybody loves to be cheered up, even people with depression. But just recognize that like depression isn't the opposite of being happy. It's something like completely other, right? Like I would say that yes, I have depression, but today I'm actually really happy. So yeah, they're two different things. Also, I would say like don't give up on the person who has depression. Remember, sometimes it's like them and sometimes it's the dog. And I would say that like, I don't know, it's hard, but the more you hang out with somebody, the more you recognize when it's the dog and when it's the person. And what advice would you give to someone with depression? What advice would I give to somebody with depression? I would say get help, 100%. It's hard to like take that first step. I would know, but I would totally recommend like going to therapy. I would recommend going to therapy even if you're not depressed. Like just having like a neutral third party that's like a sounding board is totally awesome. And for me, that's what I used my therapist for, right? A lot of times when I'm in that kind of like cycle, I have like 10,000 like sentence fragments in my head, and you can't like speak parts of sentences, right? Like if I'm giving a thought, I have to say the whole sentence, and just the act of hearing it out loud sometimes makes me go, oh, wait a minute, that's totally ridiculous. Why am I thinking that way, right? And sometimes I always give my therapist permission. They can say like, Ken, that sounds ridiculous. Why are you thinking that way? And I go, oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense, right? So having that neutral third party, totally A+ for that. I would say like, don't be alone. Being alone is hard, but being like alone when everything is the worst is like literally the worst. So yeah. Any final thoughts? Final thoughts? I think I'll always have depression. But now I know what it looks like. So I know what it looks like, right? And I can recognize it when it's like those days, and I have tools in my toolbox to fight it with. And I think in previous years and kind of running up to this last kind of little period of my life, I didn't have any tools, right? And I didn't know what it looked like. It's like showing up on a construction site without a hammer, right? You just don't do that, right? And you can't roll up to a fight with the black dog without a leash. So, so those are my final thoughts. All right. Thank you, Ken, for your very candid answers. And like he said, if you are someone who is dealing with anxiety and depression, remember, you are not alone, and go get some help. I will leave links in the description of things that you can access. All right, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Join me next time for another Ken's Adventure series. That's all for now. Bye.